Thanks so much for joining me, Jesse. Appreciate it.
Very happy to be here.
So, one of the overriding issues that we're seeing in this race for mayor in Albany is the city's fiscal stability going forward. It's got this huge budget deficit that is going to have to be closed. What are your plans for looking at that budget deficit and also kind of the long-term fiscal issues that Albany has been facing?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. About the situation, there's 152 city officials who make over $100,000. Let's see, I want to balance the budget, of course. If Bill Clinton can do it, why can't these Democrats that are in right now? I think we need to start looking to bring small business to Albany. We need to end the retail ban. I think it's crazy that people have to drive all the way out to Colony to get some clothes. I think that I would pursue a plan to bring the Harriman campus back and return it to the city, work with state government to give that land back so that we could bring small business in and make it easier for them to, increase our revenues, bring in customers, get into the financial sector and get on our tax rolls and increase our revenue that way.
Certainly, but how does that close the deficit?
How does it close the gap?
How does that close the gap in the coming fiscal year?
Well, sure, it's a huge gap. I believe it's like $15 million if I remember correctly.
That's one of the estimates. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, naturally, a lot of that cost from looking through the budget is salary costs, and you just have to kind of reasonably get it in control, and I think it starts with just city government in general, with the mayor, myself, I believe.
Would you look at layoffs? Would you look at salary cuts?
I don't think layoffs. No, I would think, calling for a reasonable cut, because if you don't make it reasonable, you end up going to Detroit where you go bankrupt, and then then nobody gets their pensions. You don't want to end up in that scenario where no one gets their pensions anymore. You want to end up where everybody gets paid reasonably and we can continue to be financially sustainable as a city.
Okay, so let's look at also this city is very Democratic. And you're a Republican running in this. There's also a Conservative Party candidate running in this. Kathy Sheehan won her primary by a very large margin. You talk to a lot of people, and they say, well, she's the presumptive winner at this point. What's your take on that? Is that a fair characterization?
No, I think it's jumping the gun. I think, let's let some democracy out there. I've had a little bit of FaceTime now on TV, but I think if you truly set up the debate, you've got a preschool teaching, radio host, band member who's been a case manager at a homeless shelter, versus former corporate lawyer, former corporate climber. I mean, we've got an epic battle here that would really make for some interesting dialogue. And I think if people see, I'm just an average guy, but I'm smart. I mean, I've been out there and I've looked at what's going on, and I think I could take this on.
What sort of small businesses would you like to attract to the city of Albany, and would you like to see them go downtown? I mean, that's one thing that a lot of people have talked about always is, growing downtown, making sure people can come downtown. You mentioned about, people buying clothes in Colony. What sort of businesses would you like to see attracted to Albany? What would like to come?
Well, when I've been talking to college students and things like that, they say, why don't we have a Marshalls? Why don't we have just regular retail downtown? I would love to see something like that downtown, small business, things that where we could buy clothes, where we could buy other things. Basically, whatever the natural demand is there for. I know that there's not a grocery store close enough to some places. Whatever the need is. What
can the mayor do? What can the city government do to attract that? I mean, you talk to Jerry Jennings, and he's kind of known as this cheerleader for the city of Albany. What can the mayor's office do to attract essentially what is private industry to come to downtown Albany?
Right. Well, the mayor can look at the zoning regulations, zoning laws, and make it easier for small businesses there. It's kind of an antiquated system. It's very suburban in its zoning. It hasn't been looked at in a while, and I think that if you make it easier to get turnkey storefronts where you get in, and it can make it easier for small businesses to get there.
I do want to talk a little bit about your background, because a lot of people, when they hear a Republican, they don't necessarily think of somebody who is also, sympathetic to the Occupy Wall Street movement. You actually participated in the Occupy demonstration in Albany across the street from the Capitol. How would you describe your worldview? I think we were talking a little bit before we started this interview, and you're really more of a small L libertarian. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, and I get along with a lot of different people. I've been reaching out to Democrats. I've got very liberal people in my campaign staff, and it's just no matter what where you philosophically are, a lot of people are very tired of top-down control and just how the air has been sucked out of the system in this current system, and we know that needs to change. So that's kind of my big view on things.
How did you think of the city handling the Occupy demonstration right at the end there? What was being on the ground there, what was your reaction to the way that was handled?
I mean, I was kind of shocked because they had taken such a different posture throughout that it seemed kind of sudden that all of a sudden they're clamping down on it. I mean, I think Albany should really embrace that kind of democratic action, and, you know, how many people really use that park anyway? I think we should create a place that maybe maybe they could utilize that's made out of cement or something, so that they don't trample the grass or But they tried to be good stewards. I mean, they tried to lay down the grass seed and stuff, and they had a few incidents, of course, that made it end up the way it did. But those were individuals. I think the collective group really showed a lot of class, showing the good stewardship of the land there.
And just last, we're almost out of time, unfortunately, but going forward, what's your strategy for campaigning now that we're in this general election season? I think we've got about 6 weeks or so to go until Election Day.
Yeah, for campaigning, I'm assuming I'm going to need like 10,000 votes or something like that to win. And basically, I'm going to be hitting the doors as much as I can and talking to people and blitzing the media as much as I can, getting on TV, seeing if I can get my face out there, because I'm definitely going to need the boost of getting out there. I would love to have a debate with Sheehan. I'd love to light some fireworks and ask her some questions. I think that would really make it interesting.
Alrighty, unfortunately we're out of time. Jesse Calhoun, Republican candidate for mayor of Albany. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks a lot.